Welcome to Frances Quilts, the site dedicated to the wonderful art of quilting, with a few other fun things thrown in as well. If you like what you see here, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can be notified of future videos. Hey guys, welcome back to Frances Quilts. Today I have finally started doing some quilting on my woodpile quilt. If you remember, I pieced this maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, designed the quilt. I really loved the top, but I just could not figure out how I was going to quilt it. I sent out several appeals online, and you ladies have been magnificent giving me suggestions, but I finally decided how I'm going to get started. Because this quilt is going to have a lot of straight lines in it, and a lot of them are fairly long straight lines, and I want to keep them straight, and I don't want to have to mark every single line that I put on the quilt, I decided to work with a little bit longer ruler. Now, I normally work with this ruler, which is Angela Walter Slim. It's great because it's the nice size of my hand. It fits well. I can hold it in place easily, and I like that a lot. But for making some of these long marks where I want them to be a certain distance from an edge, I need to have a longer ruler. So instead, I am using this ruler, which is about 12 inches long, from Angel Oak Stitchery. It still has some of the quarter-inch markings along here, which I'm using. And the main thing that I want to point out when I show you this next little quilting section is that when I'm quilting with the long ruler, I make sure that as it's quilting, my hand is always right where the needle is. I'm not holding it here while I'm quilting up here, because if I do that, it's going to start sliding. So just as you watch this little demonstration, just note that my hand is always in place when I'm using this ruler. I have drawn just a few guidelines on this quilt as I get ready to quilt it. The first is just a 1/4 of an inch away from these edges, coming up to a point up here, and then I also have put a line down the center here. That just gives me a little place to know where to stop. It's a little bit hard sometimes to figure out exactly where I need to stop. So as I start, I'm going to come down to this point here. I'm going to quilt a 1/4 of an inch away from this seam right here. Now, I could put my ruler back behind and quilt that way. I don't find that particularly easy to do. I have marked that line with the chalk pencil, and so the easiest thing for me to do is just to butt this up, straighten it out, make sure that it looks straight, and then I'm going to sew all the way from here to here. As I quilt this, I am going to be pulling from this side just to keep it moving that direction, and I'm going to be making sure that my fingers stay in line with where this needle is. I'm not going to hold here and let the needle get all the way down here, because it will move. Okay, I'm all set up here, so let's start quilting. I will tell you, the first time I quilted this on film, I veered all the way up here and thought, okay, that's not the way to do it. So hopefully this time I can show you the way to do it properly. And part of my problem is that I have my ruler the wrong way, so these sticky things were facing up rather than down, so that's part of the issue. So let's try again here. Again, I've moved my hands down so that I'm always quilting in this center section of the ruler. Moving one more time. I think the main thing to remember with these long rulers is they give you a long area that you can use for measuring and getting your lines straight, but you're only going to quilt in just a little section of them at a time. So now let's go up the other way, finish the other side of this triangle. Okay, this time I am lining up the edge of the ruler against the edge of that triangle right there. So I can put this in here and right there. And I'm just going to hold it. I'm not worried about the rest of this up here for the moment. I'm just going to hold it in place and quilt as far as I can until I need to move my hand. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to see that this is still in place down here. That's where I'm measuring from. I'm going to move my hand up and go again. And then one last time. This time I probably need to move this a little bit. I'm still going to come back down here and measure it against that triangle. Now I have put a line through here just to help me kind of see where the center is. Now this one's a little bit harder because I don't have as much room. I can't get my table runs out of room. So I'm going to measure from here with line this up at the top, and then I'm going to come down to this bottom here, and I'm just going to hold my ruler against that area, that side right there. I can't keep it there because when it's off of my table when I'm quilting, but I'm just going to use that as my guide. So put that there. I'm going to come down here and line that ruler up as much as I can against the guide that I have, and you can't see that off camera, but I can't do it on camera. This time, since I'm on this side of the needle, I'm going to press down hard here with my whole hand basically and just move it along. Okay, my finger's getting in the way. Now my finger is a little crooked, so it's going to get in the way faster than most people's will. But as I stop, I'm going to come down here and adjust a little bit if I need to make just a minor adjustment to how it's going to fit at the bottom. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to quilt again. Now this time you can see I'm actually holding on to the ruler back here as well. And then finally I'll come back in and make one final adjustment just to get that line straight. Let's finish it out. And that section's finished. Remember, I always try to show this. Remember, the way to get both of your threads at the top is once you have finished an area, pull it towards you, maybe almost, maybe 12 inches away from where you were stitching. Come back in and put one stitch down and back up in that same spot. And then when you pull it back out, you see that bobbin thread starts coming up from the bottom. So you can pull that up and give it a clip. Clip those 3 threads at the same time. There's 2 bobbin threads and 1 top thread. Clip all 3 of those, and then you can pull that bobbin thread back out again, and you have your 2 threads at the top. So I'm going to quilt in here. Again, I'm doing just some designs in here using my ruler as my my guide for the spacing of those, and I'll let you just have a watch of that. The way I know how to stop when I get to this is because I know that my next one is going to be 1/4 of an inch in. I'm going to be bedding my ruler 1/4 of an inch against away from that seam. So I can watch right here, and when that distance between the edge of my foot and the edge of my piecing is about 1/4 of an inch, then I know it's time for me to stop. Now it looks like maybe I need to do one more stitch, so I'm going to hold this in place and just do another stitch to get close to it, and then come up again. Again, I want to come up to about 1/4 of an inch past the foot, so I'm just going to very carefully stitch a few stitches in here. So that's 1/4 of an inch. Now let's come up another 1/4 of an inch past that. And when I put that down, look, that ruler just fits right along that line that I want to use as my guide. Sometimes I do an extra stitch or 2. I'd rather stop short than to go too far. Well, that was fun. That was the last of the pyramid designs that I have to quilt, and now I need to go through and figure out what I'm going to do next, but I'm looking forward to that process as well. I hope you have a great quilting day today, and thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time on Francis Quilts.
Remember, if you like what you've seen, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please check out my website and daily blog at francisquilts.com, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Francis Quilts. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon.